Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. Today we are joined by a legend. He is a casino game protection expert. He has been exposing cheats, scams, and advantage play in casinos for 37 years. Welcome, Sal Piacente, to On the Corner of Main Street.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I love that, calling him a legend. Let me tell you something. To do what Sal's doing, it takes one to know one.
Yes.
Okay, Let me tell you something about Sal. But we're honored to have you here today, Sal. I was watching a video of you on Vanity Fair. You've clearly grown into an icon, I guess a legend of your trade, as Lisa described you. And it's great timing because last week, what day is it today? Thursday? No, this week, we had the longest roll I've ever seen at our craps tables. We had an hour and 48-minute craps roll. And I was watching on Vanity Fair. I was like, oh man, he maybe there was some switching going. No, there was nothing. But our surveillance team was excellent. Obviously, you know them, and they were on top of it. It was nothing fishy. It was just a great time. The guys were having fun, and every now and then it happens, right?
It does. I have to ask, did they take advantage of it? Many times people think the roll's going to end and they hold back. Where for someone like my wife, she would just keep parlaying it until it lost.
They definitely, it didn't hurt as much as it could have, which is maybe why I was in such a good mood and willing to talk about it.
Excellent.
They weren't pressing as much as they probably wish they had been for an hour and 48 minutes. But anyway. And
you mentioned the YouTube video from Vanity Fair. It's called Casino Cheating Expert Reviews Card Counting and Casino Scams from Movies, and I do highly recommend anyone go watch it.
This scene is from Runner Runner.
If he doesn't roll a 7 and crap out, this is going to cost you $100,000.
House kids sweat the money. Hey, shooter.
The stick person never passes the dice out with a 7 showing. That's taboo or bad luck. So that's something you'll never see.
How about this? I'll fade your action.
Fade the action means I'm going to book the bet. Whoever wants to bet, I'll take it.
No roll.
If a stick person thinks something happened, they have the right to say no roll. That means this don't count.
Shooter, can't slide your dice. No roll.
That is a real cheating move.
well, it's fun because it takes all your favorite movies and Sal basically breaks them down, right?
I do. We just see how Hollywood got it right and got it wrong. And most of the times in these gaming movies, Hollywood gets it wrong.
Yeah.
One shot Jesse James at 45.
If you look at the dice on this clip, you see the 2 and the 5 are next to each other. When remember, the 2 and the 5 have to be on opposite sides because opposite sides of the dice always total 7 on a legitimate pair of dice.
But they didn't get it wrong in Casino, and I saw you notice that. Casino is very good.
Casino is very good. That's my favorite movie.
Yeah.
Casino. They did their homework, and they did it right, and they told it the way it was.
Now here's this guy reading the dealer's hole card and signaling his buddy at this table.
The device he used is a real device. It's called a thumper. These are the ace bandages where it gets strapped onto your body, and this is the whole device right here. This goes behind your back, and this goes on your thigh. The thigh is the most sensitive part of the body, one of the most sensitive parts. And then this is a toe switch. This goes on your toe, or this goes in your pocket, either way you want to do it. This device right here is made for signaling. Anywhere you want to get information from point A to point B, this could be used. And when you press down with your toe, you can definitely feel this thing. When this thing is vibrating, you'll feel it. If it's poker, I can tell you what hand I have. I can tell you to check. I can tell you to raise. If it's blackjack, I can tell you the whole card silently.
If you're thinking of coming to take advantage of any weak dealers here at the Plaza, you're wrong time because Sal's done a training session here with us now, and our guys are tip-top shape. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you very much for having me. It's great to be back.
Okay, so you started out as a dealer in Atlantic City. How did you end up where you are today? How did you end up in Las Vegas?
Well, it's funny. How I ended up where I am today. When I was 12 years old, my father showed me the 3-card Monte scam. And he said, son, I'm showing you this so you don't get taken. Mm-hmm. And here I am doing the same thing, where I get to show casinos how not to get taken. And then we were 13. We were thinking about moving here. This is back in the 70s. And I just fell in love. I fell in love with the Strip. I fell in love with the industry. We stayed at the Aladdin. I got to see Lola Falana and Dangerfield and fell in love with this town and knew I wanted to be in it. And then I joined the Marine Corps, turned 21, went to
Thanks for your
blackjack school,
service.
never looked back.
And that was in Atlantic City?
It was. I broke in Atlantic City, and then I came here and I broke in at the El Cortez on a 25-cent craps game.
Tell us what you do exactly with these scams.
I train casinos on game protection, how to protect their assets. So I show them how not to get taken and what they could do to prevent people from taking them.
So some common scams that happen in casinos are exposing hole cards.
Exposing hole cards can be a scam only if the dealer's doing it intentionally. If the dealer's doing it intentionally, yes, it is a scam.
They're doing it unintentionally. It's just a weak dealer.
Exactly right. It's an advantage play. Exactly right. And they are a dime a dozen. You go to any casino where the casino lets you, you're going to get a hole card. And when I say let you, I'm not saying they're saying come get it. Some casinos, which yourself I see changed here, which I compliment 100%, the dealer's hand stays in the machine. I recommended that everywhere. Sometimes they don't want to the casinos don't want to implement it, and I don't know why. It's a great procedure.
Say for games like 3-card poker, things like that?
Correct.
Okay.
Keep the dealer's hand in the machine, but a lot of places don't. And when the dealer removes the hand from the machine, a lot of them accidentally expose that bottom card. And now the player's advantage can grow up to 3.5%.
So hold on, but I want to get into what Sal does today for sure. But talk to us about 1996 and how did you go into this career? Because obviously you were doing other things before you got into this.
Yes, I was a dealer, and then I went to craps school in Atlantic City. I dealt blackjack in Atlantic City, dealt craps. No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I dealt craps out here for the first time at the El
Okay.
Cortez.
Okay.
Did you show your hole cards?
No, I did not. That's illegal.
Are
I never
you asking if
exposed.
Sal was a weak dealer?
No. If he was in on a scam, that's how you learned about it. I don't know.
No, not at all. I've never done this. Believe me, never done it. It's illegal, but I know how. I'm very capable, and it's a great passion. And I've always wanted to learn. My father always said, if you're going to do something, be the best. And it was a passion that I turned into a career.
Amazing.
So how long did you deal for before you?
14 years. And then in 2000, the Hyatt created a position for me. And they actually made me a game protection specialist. And my job was to actually to protect all their properties. And they relocated us from Vegas to Rising Sun, Indiana. And then in 2006, we branched off on our own. And that's when I started my own company, Universal, or we call it Universal Game Protection Development.
Universal. You got that, Lisa?
Got it.
So wait, you mean to tell me you never took advantage of your knowledge?
Have not.
Are you sure, Sal?
I am.
You never took advantage of the weak dealers that you saw out there, or any of the advantages that you had?
I did not. I've always worked for the places, and I try and educate them.
Okay. All right.
But on your leisure time, do you go out and play?
Do
you play blackjack? You don't.
I do not
Don't
play,
play any
at
table
all.
games.
You'll never, and the reason for this is because if I went into a casino and I won, what's the first thing people think? He cheated us.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I lost, what's the first thing they think? He ain't that good. And the truth of the matter is you can't beat them. The games are getting virtually unbeatable today. Roulette, they're going to 000. Blackjacks, they're going 6 to 5 on the payouts.
Not here, my friend. 0, 3 to 2.
Oh, well, we could talk about here, because I don't want to.
I mean, generally downtown, you're not getting. But for one place, I think you're seeing 6 to 5. Yeah, and same place, I guess you're seeing 000. But other than that, it's mostly 00.
I agree, and it was perfect. And when I said I don't want to talk about this property, because if I started talking about this property, honestly, the readers aren't going to believe it. Your listeners will not believe it. You're going to say he's only saying this on the podcast. But the truth of the matter is, on my health, this is my favorite place.
Really?
I don't
is.
believe you. I don't believe you.
I know you don't. It really is. My wife will tell you, this place right here gives me a hint of what old Vegas was like. And I hope you never lose that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, this really shows me what this town used to be like. And I love it for that reason and for that feel.
Let's jump forward to what you do today. How did you create this position, and how did it become something that every casino should be looking at or is looking at?
Well, how I actually got into this position was when I was in Atlantic City, a gentleman by the name of Steve Kershak had a chance to do training in Puerto Rico. And he heard about me, and he said, Sal, will you help me do this lecture? And I did. And then from there, it just stemmed on and on and on. But I didn't do it full-time. I didn't do it full-time until 2000 when the Hyatt created a position for me. But really, it's a great passion. I love practicing it. I love reading everything I can on it. Too many supervisors, too many employees just treat this as a job.
Right.
They just look at their watch. When am I getting off? Or when am I getting out? And the truth of the matter is, a lot of cheaters say, if these people would put just half as much time into trying to think what we're doing, it'll be a different world.
Yeah.
So what are some of the most common day schemes you're seeing out there today that people are looking for? Because I know you walk through casinos and you'll look for weak dealers, and then that's what you did for me, and you'll come to me and say, hey, these are the things you should be looking at. Like, what's keeping you awake at night at the moment?
I love craps.
Okay.
Because there's an electronic craps table, and it's very easy to slide the dice on them. So that's one of the most common scams is dice sliding.
Okay.
When I talk about dice switching, it's funny because in my classes, I talk about dice switching and crooked dice. And I'm telling you for a fact, scams with crooked dice are rare, but not extinct. And in my lecture, I show the dice and how they make the logos, how they make the stamps. The reason why it doesn't get caught is because at the end of the day, the casino is left with their own equipment. The crooked dice are taken in and taken out. And there's nothing left behind to examine or to find. If you don't catch it right there on the spot live, you're not catching it.
It's the dice that only has 456, 456.
Right, those are tops. Those are the favorite types.
You can never
of
get a
crooked
7
dice.
with those dice.
Absolutely right. And there's other combinations. You're right. 1, 4, 5s. Exactly right. Those dice can only roll numbers.
Right.
Not
The
make
human
a
eye
seven.
can only see 3 sides of a dice at any given time, and therefore the 456 can never see that it's only 456 on the other side.
Exactly right. That's why the mirror is so important. The boxman, which you got people say boxman, many times they say, what's a boxman? A lot of places are getting rid of boxmen because they're trying to save the money on the salaries. But that boxman is a very important position. He's the one looking into that mirror.
Is that the role of the boxman, just to check the dice, or what would you say?
To watch the whole game, to watch everything. He watches the dealers, watches the payouts, watches the dice, corrects any infractions or any beefs.
Like a second set of eyes.
Exactly. He's the boss on that table.
Got it.
So craps, you're talking about switching in dice.
Dice sliding.
Yep.
When I walk through the casino, I really love hole carding. That's one of my favorite things to go looking for because you get them everywhere. You really do.
Yep.
And it's just like a treat. Seeing that 4 from a distance or seeing the dealer has a qualifying
And
card.
how does that work? Is it usually, because this is what I've seen, is whereby there's 2 people at the table, one's at the beginning of the side and the other one's betting small, but they're signaling to the guy at the end of at the other side, but the one closest to the dealer is the one that's seeing the card as it's coming out.
Correct. Correct.
Is it usually teams on that, or?
Yes, it is. The reason being is because the person betting the money can't see the whole card. So he wouldn't be accused of it. And the person seeing the whole card would never take advantage of it. For example, one of the clips I've shown today in the class, you actually see the player signal to his partner, the dealer has a blackjack. The person receiving the signal took insurance, but the person who saw the whole card did not take it.
No, yeah, so it throws them off the scent.
Exactly right.
Yeah. Makes sense. No, and when we had that issue here, it was about 6 years ago, but they were a team. But it was a weak dealer. It was a weak dealer. It wasn't a...
Was the dealer in on it?
Well, you never know, but we believe it was a weak dealer.
Great answer. That's the truth. You never know. But I agree with you. Most of the time, they are just weak dealers.
How often do scams happen?
Ooh.
Well, you're confusing, Sal, though, just to be clear, because there's advantage play and there's scams.
Well, advantage play isn't scamming.
No, an advantage play, unless you're losing an electronic device, that makes it illegal. But advantage play, card counting, shuffle tracking, ace location,
I mean, hole carding. Yeah.
legitimate advantage plays.
Yeah.
It's just getting advantage. You're not going to get prosecuted for them. You're not going to get arrested. Or you might get backed out, but they're not going to arrest you. It's not illegal, again, unless you're using a device.
What's backed out?
We
Back
can't
to
play
what
here
you can't
anymore.
play.
86th or
Exactly, 86th. Now, when you talk about how often do scams happen, the truth of the matter is when I show surveillance, when I see surveillance, we're only looking at the people that got caught. You got to think, how many times does it happen where it doesn't get caught? And if you ask me that question, I would tell you, I feel more often than you think it happens.
Wow.
There's no way of quantifying that number. We don't know.
true.
So based on that, I mean, in your experience, how many what percentage is people coming in and taking advantage with loaded dice or hole carding versus the house being in on it or having a dealer who's in on the scam?
Okay, when you talk about just advantage players looking just to exploit the casino without having inside help, of course that happens more often.
Okay.
But when you talk about having dealer collusion, now you're talking about a whole new world.
Yeah, that's a whole dangerous world.
Dangerous is correct, because that's what the casinos fear the most.
Right.
When you get that dealer involved, whether the dealer purposely shows you that whole card, or purposely flashes the top card, or does a false shuffle, or memorizes the cards. When I am in one of my demonstrations I love to do, I take the cards out of the shuffle machine, flip them on its side, and right before the preparation for the cut, I'll lift up the top 8 cards and memorize them in about a second and a half. And now, that's dangerous.
Right.
Because now they know a sequence of cards.
Do you know how to count cards, Gary?
It's been a very, very long time, but you know.
Yes.
It's a very, when people see these movies, they think of the MIT team. You don't have to be an MIT graduate to count cards. 3rd grade. You're counting and subtracting by 1, and you're dividing by no more than 6. The basic skills of a card counter is anybody could do. The real art of counting is not getting caught.
You did say something, though, on one of your, I think it was the Vanity Fair, that counting 6 decks is the same as counting 1 deck, but that's not strictly true.
Did I say that? I don't recall saying that, but it's not true. No.
Oh, because they say in Vanity Fair that no one can count 6 decks.
In Rain Man, they said that.
But which is not true. Anyone can count 6 decks.
Absolutely right.
But it's way better to count 1 deck than 6 decks.
Sure, because when you're counting down 1 deck, your running count is your true count.
Correct.
But when you count down 6 decks, you got to do a true count conversion.
And your true count conversion is a roundup.
Correct. You're actually you're dividing the number of decks remaining by your running. You're dividing your running count by the number of decks remaining.
Right. Right.
You just attended the World Gaming Protection Conference. How was it? What did you learn? What goes on at this conference?
The World Game Protection Conference, outstanding. Every year, this conference happens, and it keeps everybody up to date on the latest and the greatest games and what's happening in the industry.
What are the latest and greatest?
Oh, wow. Well, when I presented, we went over the whole carding. We went over Baccarat slug scams. We talked about coolers, card control, how crucial that is. God forbid if someone was able to get the cards out of the casino. I can actually take a deck of cards, open them up, and reseal them, and you will swear that deck has never been opened.
Wow. Yikes. Yeah, you talked about like the card counting special computer in the shoe. Does that really happen?
Oh, yes. Matter of fact, I have one with me. Not on me right now, but I have one in the training room to demonstrate. Matter of fact, it was just reprogrammed for Baccarat.
How often does that happen?
I can't answer how often because I don't know. However, I do know the people that sell them, and I know they're being sold online. So if they are moving them, they must be being sold. And if they're being sold, they're not for entertainment purposes.
Wow.
Now, I guess with cheats now, I mean, almost everybody has, electronic watch or something like that. Why do they still allow, watches at the table when they ask you to take your phone away when I can receive any message that I need to right here on my wrist?
Good question. And my take on that is, what's the big deal with a phone? I like the phone. I like the watch. You know why? You're showing me what you have.
Right.
The cameras that I fear are the ones that are not being seen, the ones that are in the buttons, or the computers that are in your shoes, the ones that are more covert. Those are the ones that scare me.
Computer in your shoes.
On the Vanity Fair, there's a computer.
Oh, I know. I watched it.
Oh, yes. They're called George. They're called Casey's. They're called David's. They have names for them.
Wow. We have some questions from listeners that
we can go there.
People asked. Vital Vegas tweeted that the Cosmopolitan has a warning to guests that about vultures who actively try to get players to move, and the sign on their slot machine says, "This game has a persistent bonus feature. Be aware of strangers advising you to change machines for any reasons." Can you talk about this?
Sal, do you look at slots, or do you just focus on table games?
I can't mention anything. The only slot machine I'll talk about is electronic craps table, which they consider that a slot machine. Well, it's really a craps table with one dealer on it. But otherwise than that, I am strictly 100% table games.
Do you have an insight on this, Jonathan?
I do. I want to talk about that in a minute. But on the table games, Do you look at carnival games, or is it all blackjack, craps?
Oh, no, every game. Every table game. All the carnival games. Mississippi Stud, Ultimate Texas, 3-card, every game.
And it's all there where dealers might be showing whole cards, even in those games, or customers might be post-betting.
Correct.
That's what you're saying to look out for? That's what you're training for now?
Exactly. But we cover every game. Before we do training, we'll do a walkthrough of the casino and cover all the games and training that they offer. There's no sense in talking about a game if a casino doesn't offer it.
Yeah. I actually think it's one of the big scourges in the industry right now are the persistent bonuses on slot machines.
Scourge.
Hawking on the slot machines, and these bonus hunters that you're seeing in videos harassing people, making people feel uncomfortable, smoking near them so that they leave their machine, and then they leave it with these persistent bonuses, and the average American or person doesn't know how persistent bonusing works.
Yeah.
Why is that funny?
The average American?
The average person doesn't know how persistent bonusing works, so then they're leaving these games with basically built-in value for these hawkers and advantage players who then do that. There's nothing illegal about it. The whole of the game is built into those into those bonuses, so there's nothing illegal with it. But if somebody here is harassing someone to leave, they get 86th, guaranteed.
But if you go into any casino, you will see people just walking around specific slot machines.
Gary, I can't walk through a casino now without seeing people doing this.
Right.
They're going around and they're checking all the denominations on these games to see
Exactly.
if there's persistent bonuses left behind. And then there's different levels to it. There's ones where they're just betting small amounts, and then there's sort of the ones where the bonus is built up. So then they'll chase them. They'll be glad to chase them because I guess long term they have built-in value that they know they're going to get it back. But they'll gladly get stuck a few $1,000s trying to chase these bigger prizes, knowing that it's coming. But I was staying on the Strip for a while. You couldn't walk through the casino without seeing teams of these people just checking for bonuses. It's a big problem in the industry, but casinos don't seem to be that upset as I am about it. So if we catch someone doing it now, we're just trying to say we're not going to give you any. You're excluded from our rewards membership.
Right.
You can come and play here, but we're not going to give you free play to chase those bonuses with. But it's very prevalent. And it is definitely an issue. And if they're caught, I think every casino should automatically 86 people if they're hawking or disturbing normal customers playing on those games.
Yeah.
Sal, do you work with surveillance as well as dealers?
Oh, we cover every position. Dealers, everyone gets their own training. For example, when you're a dealer, what do you show a dealer? You show them how players pinch bets and press bets, how players mark cards, how they switch cards, how they slide dice, how they switch dice, how advantage players exploit weak dealers, time and motion. That's everything dealers should see. Then you have a due rate. A due rate is a dealer and also a supervisor. Because they still hold dealer positions, it's a different class as well. You show them the same thing the dealer sees, but then you show them how to look for advantage players, and then you show them how the importance of basic strategy, how to utilize it. Then you have the full-time supervisor training. They get to see all the way dealers could cheat, how they palm the chips, how they steal the chips, how they do the false shuffles, how they do slug scams, how they flash the cards. And then you have surveillance training. It's from a different perspective. For example, a supervisor shouldn't know how to count cards. A supervisor will never be able to count cards or utilize that information. If a supervisor can dedicate that much time to one game, what's happening on their other 7 games that they're supposed to be watching? So all they have to do is identify it. How do you identify it? When that dealer yells floor, checks play, or table max, or you see a big bet spread, and then you look for a deviation. Then you call surveillance. Now, surveillance has to prove it. They have to know how to count cards. So surveillance gets the same training as a supervisor, but from a different perspective. And I never recommend mixing the two departments together. Why? Because many times, and I'm not speaking for all the casinos, everyone is different, but many times you don't want table games to know what surveillance doesn't know. You know, in surveillance, in many places, again, not all, you have people who never dealt, who don't know the games. A lot of places only hire law enforcement, which their integrity is good, but where's the knowledge of the games? You'd be surprised how many surveillance observers couldn't tell you a $7 straight and roulette pays with a $2 straight up. I mean, $2 split, or what a $20 horn high yo pays if 11 hits. A lot of them don't know. So, of course, they got to be trained. So it's a different perspective. Supervisor, surveillance, dealer, due rate, different training.
There used to be in Atlantic City, there was a dealer. I remember hearing the story when I used to deal that every time he would go to get off the game, he had this jet black hair that he would rub his hair before he would clear his hands. And what he would do after time, he would always dye the hair, and he was known for his hair, is he would always palm two black chips in his hands and put them into his hair because it was basically like a net. And then he was doing that for years until eventually his hair started to fall out, and then the chips fell, and then he got busted. I think this was at Bally's in Atlantic City.
Wow, I never heard that one.
Yeah.
I do have video of, that's why we talk about procedures. Procedures are very important. Clearing your hands. Dealers have to show nothing in their hands before they go to the body. But I show video in the supervisor training of dealers shoving chips in their mouth, dealers shoving chips in their shirt, dealers shoving chips down their vest, dealers going to the pants. Yeah.
Wow.
And no one's above that procedure. I have dealers stealing. I got supervisors stealing. I have gaming commissioners stealing.
Wow.
I have a shift manager stealing. No one is
Oy vey.
above that procedure.
Oy vey. Hey, casino owners. Why are you still banning call bets at the dice games? As a known player, I think some should be accepted to keep the action going. If the money is on the rim or the player has credit, why not?
Sal?
Yeah, please. I'd love to answer that one because we just had, a matter of fact, if you want to talk about Vegas, let's look at what happened at the Bellagio. They got hit with a scam, with a call bet scam. They got
Those guys are in the black book, by the way.
Yes, they are. Yes,
Yeah.
they just got inducted into the black book. That's
Yeah.
right.
The new latest members?
So what they do is they just drop chips at the dealer, and the dealer dice are out. Dealer pretends to book. And remember, craps is a verbal game. So surveillance don't know what's being said or being bet. They just see chips being bet. The dealer books it. Then whatever rolls, they just pay it. So one place we were just at recently, and this is great because my wife should have been on that game, but we were traveling. We couldn't make it. The general manager who took over the game, the VP of table games, took over, and math does not lie. He looked at his craps numbers, and he knew we're in the red consistently. So he went to surveillance, and he nailed it immediately. He saw the player throw the chips down, and he knew it was a call bet scam, but had he
This is
prove it?
specific to the situation at Bellagio.
Not the Bellagio, but this happened in Maryland.
Oh, okay.
But same thing.
Same thing,
It was
okay.
the same scam, so he knew it. He knew it was a call bet. So he wanted D on the game, but we were traveling. So he says, don't worry about it. I'll get my other friend. And he did. And his other friend told the crew that I'm building a construction. I'm an engineer. And long story short, the crew liked him because he's always tipping. The dice roll an 11. The dealer, the stick person, said something to the supervisor. The supervisor said, talk to him. The dealer turns to the player who he doesn't know from Adam and says, sir, drop your money down on the 11. We're going to pay you. And he does it. And then he says, hey, this is great. You guys could do this? And then the stick person says, that's the boss. And then the boss gives 2 thumbs up, and that's when they got caught. And when they got caught, the amount of staff that was involved in this, they couldn't open up more than half of their craps tables when everybody got eliminated.
Jeez.
So now they came up with a procedure that I really like. Once the dice leave the center, no more bets. You make a bet, they come right back to the center, and it did not slow the game down. The players got accustomed to it. End of story.
So no more call bets.
No more. I love that procedure. Dice leave the middle, no more bets.
But for your friend's question, that's the answer.
Yeah. Did they really use magnets in the casinos to mess with the table games and slot machines?
Wow. Slot machines, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, magnets have been used. Matter of fact, we did a show on that where they put a magnet in a wheelchair to control the crooked dice.
Wow.
The dice were switched in. They made a small magnetic field on the craps table. And every time the dice landed into that area, the person in the wheelchair would hit the battery. That would control the magnet, and they would get the desired numbers.
Wow.
But there was the thing you said, again, on the Vanity Fair thing, where your timing's got to be excellent with those magnets, because otherwise it looks really weird when the dice starts flipping without any gravity
Momentum.
moving it.
Oh, yeah, you would think Banachek is on the game, moving it with his mind. Yeah. No, you just see dice flip over like, what was that?
Yeah.
So the timing has to be impeccable.
Wow.
But they practice that.
Oh, yes.
That timing, yeah.
Oh, practice is everything. Remember, an amateur practices to where he gets it right. A professional practices to where he can't get it wrong.
Put that on a
like it.
T-shirt.
I like it. I like it.
What's the punishment for using magnets or doing a scam in a casino?
Wow, it depends. So there's some Indian reservations. If you get caught cheating, they just back you out for 24 hours. They don't have any laws. You'll get prosecuted. Some places we worked at, the casinos didn't want the negative publicity, so they just said they just fire the employee or they just back them out. So it all depends, different cases. And then, of course, the amount that's being stolen or taken plays a major role, too.
That's very interesting. Don't do it if you're listening and thinking about it.
That I agree. Don't do it.
So how much time do you spend in downtown Las Vegas?
How much time do I spend in downtown Las Vegas? Well, again, this is my favorite part. It really is. The Strip, it's just a personal thing with me. Some of these, at least not some, most of those places are too big. Not personal. I like downtown.
Love it.
Any great stories from when you were a dealer back in the day at El Cortez in downtown?
Wow, it was definitely a different world. My favorite story about the old El Cortez is how I got the job. I walked in at 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, "Are you hiring dealers by any chance?" The guy says, "Let me make a phone call." Makes a phone call, comes back and says, "Go to the cage." He don't even know my name yet. Go to the cage and get a bow tie. Wow. I go to the cage, I pick up a bow tie, 2 o'clock in the morning. I come back, I tap it on the game. Now remember, I went to school in Atlantic City. Everything was proper. $5 place bets, $6, $6, $8. I've never dealt a 25-cent game. So when I got on stick, I did okay. But when I got on base and someone says $2.35 across, I was lost.
Jesus.
What is stick and base?
A stick person is the person who controls the dice.
Oh, and craps.
That's at the in craps.
Okay, sorry.
And then when I got on base and they started throwing these oddball bets, the box person walked me through it. He said, "Just put him up. He's buying the 4 and 10 for 10 cents, and that's the juice." So I did that. And then he said, "Okay, you got hands. You're hired." Then the next morning, I think it was 9 o'clock, I was at the hospital right across the street taking my drug test. And then 11 o'clock, I was getting my sheriff's card.
Wow.
And then 3 o'clock the next afternoon, I was dealing.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
That's my...
And you worked there how many years?
No, not years. I was here temporarily. I was here for about maybe 7 months because I was waiting for the Civil Legacy to open up in Reno.
Okay.
And this was just a temporary area until we went to Reno.
Right.
Any career advice that you would give to someone starting out on their career path?
Well, when you talk about career path, if you're talking about any career path, my major advice would be find something you're very passionate about and make sure you become the best at what you do.
I love it.
Except for scams. Don't
No matter what you're going to do, be the best.
be the best at it.
But yes, stay away from scams. That I
Where
agree.
can people find out more information about you? Website, social media?
UniversalGameProtection.com.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you, Sal.
joining
No,
us.
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me here.
We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends about On the Corner of Main Street, and of course, follow us on social. On Twitter and Instagram, it's @Plaza Pod, and on Facebook, find us @Plaza Podcast. Or go right to the top and tweet Jonathan @Jonathan Jossel. We'll see you next time from right here on the corner of Main Street.